Hey everyone, I'm Athena Alexander, and welcome to Executive Teens Power Moves. Thank you for joining us. Executive Teens is a platform by teens for teens, where we explore how soft skills, real connection, and emotional intelligence can future-proof us in an AI-driven world. We're on a mission to make emotional intelligence go viral. We want to double down on what makes us human, which will help us lead, connect, and thrive in a fast-changing world. I'm really excited for today's conversation. We've got Ruben Stephen with us, and trust me, he is a powerhouse. He grew up in West Palm Beach, went to high school there. His weighted GPA was a 5.23. He played varsity basketball, volleyball, and track and field. But he did not stop there. He then headed to MIT, where he is majoring in mechanical engineering. He's done work in artificial intelligence, robotics, and is committed to fostering community through both engineering and mentorship. He runs an SAT and math tutoring service, founded the Learnwell Society, a mentorship and content ecosystem designed to support ambitious, underrepresented students navigating high-stake paths like college admissions, scholarships, and careers. Hey, Ruben, thanks for hopping on here and joining our platform.
Thanks for having me. You flattered me like so much with that intro. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. So I think we should just hop right in. What inspired you to study engineering and why MIT?
I think what had initially sparked my like interest or love of sciences in particular was just like this desire to know why. Like I was the annoying but I was like the but why though kid. And it used to like get on my like parents' nerves. But that eventually like that curiosity I think was the root of it. And then like having the internet and like being able to search up different specific fields that I might be interested in going down, I think is what led me to mechanical engineering specifically. Like I remember it was, I think like in middle school, probably like either like going into middle school or sometime during sixth grade, I was watching this YouTuber. They might not still be around or they might have changed their name, but at the time I watched them, they were called like Major Prep, and they had these different videos about like the different engineering fields, like mechanical engineering versus software engineering versus like chemical versus like aerospace, and like what you would be doing in any of those respective fields. And I remember mechanical engineering always stood out to me because of the like variety or the versatility of different projects you could work on with that sort of degree. And that's what had drawn me to it. And it kind of went hand in hand in what had drawn me to MIT. Because I guess zooming out a bit, like the reason why I was, I guess, focused on engineering in particular was because of the salary that it would bring, if I'm being quite honest. Like I would come from like a low income first gen background. And so it was really important to me that I could gain some sort of stability since I was the first person in my family to go to university. And so like I was kind of filtering for out of lawyer, doctor, engineer, because those are like the typical go-tos. Which path do I have an affinity for on one hand, but then could also get me a six-figure salary in a reasonable amount of time? Because like with the medical or like law fields, it's going to require years and years of grad school, and like my timeline's kind of compressed. So yeah, like I would say it started with a necessity for financial security in tandem with a natural passion and curiosity for like why things in the physical world work. That led me to like going down physics and stuff like that. But then in terms of a career, it was YouTube and like searching up like what does this field do? And then mechanical engineering stood out to me. And then from there, it's like, okay, if I want to do this, I want to do this at a high level. And like I felt as though I had the capacity to. And it's like, okay, where do the best engineers go? They go to MIT.
I love that. I love that. And YouTube is such a great resource. Um, what was the biggest surprise about being a student at MIT?
Oh man. Um, I don't know if this was even necessarily surprising because you know it to some degree that like, oh, everybody here is smart. So like it's unreasonable to expect that I'm still going to be doing as great in all my classes and all that. But like I think even like you can consciously know it, but feeling it and like coming up against the like tangible feeling of your own limitations and like that imposter syndrome or that mix of emotions, I think really like shook me my first year.
That's so true. And honestly, being around smart people pushes you to do better.
Exactly.
So I want to talk a little bit about mindset and mental health. You seem like someone who is really confident and have a great way with people. Have you always been that way?
That's first and foremost, definitely not. Nah. That's why I was like laughing when you said like I seem confident. That's really interesting. Um, yeah, I would say no. And it's been like a conscious effort that I've been making to become more, I guess, like outgoing or I guess like forward facing. And I think that's pretty cool. That's the vibe I give off as confident, comfortable. But like I would say like very much an introvert by nature, like not socially awkward because like I've learned it as a skill, but like I don't think it necessarily comes naturally. Like and like I like introverted in the sense that like I draw my energy from being alone oftentimes, and so like social interactions often leave me like feeling low-key drained. And so it wasn't always this way, and I think what helped me the most was going, as funny as it might sound, like COVID and like being away from people because it caused me to go internal and like check out like what was going on with myself and get more comfortable with who I was as an individual. And I think that self-love allowed me to go into interactions with others as just I could be more present and like more of me fully could be more present. And I think that helped a lot.
That's so true. I agree. I think the pandemic really gave people time to think about themselves. You have you ever struggled with feeling out of place, and what mindset shift helped you get through it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially like getting to MIT from the background I grew up in, it to give additional context to that, like a heavily minority like immigrant like demographic of South Florida to being in a place that's a bit more gentrified in Boston and particularly like MIT's subsection of Boston is a lot of people of Caucasian and Asian descent and there's a good feeling of like alienation or like maybe I'm not supposed to be here or like imposter syndrome that comes with that. And I think what helped, like the mindset that helped me get through it the most is in terms of like the imposter syndrome, it was relying on the fact that like regardless of if I might doubt it, like the fact that I was at the location of MIT was proof in itself of like regardless of however you might feel about it, you got in for some sort of reason, whatever that might be. And I think more broadly than that, because like even having that, like it doesn't necessarily like make everything go away. It doesn't make like the experience, I guess, any less difficult. And I think on a more meta level, it's just an embracing of the difficulty and like knowing that okay, it's going to be hard for now and for the better. Like the fact that I'm dealing with this adversity is only going to add to the story that I can tell later and like make me stronger.
No, yeah, I like that it's going to be hard for now mindset because life is always changing and things are always changing.
Exactly.
How do you handle the pressure when everything feels overwhelming?
I would say my go-tos for feeling overwhelmed are exercise and meditation. And I think like more broadly, the prescription I go to often is zooming out and contextualizing whatever it is that might have me feeling overwhelmed. And basically like it's not that deep. And it's not that deep and then giving yourself space and time and through like the exercise and meditation. I would also heavily recommend journaling. I think that's been one of my like most valuable habits I ever picked up because if you can because a lot of the times the feeling of overwhelm is because like there's pent up energy and nowhere for it to go. And I think the journaling helps a lot because one, it's you get to vent without bound or like feeling like you might be burdening somebody else, but then it also by labeling it, it makes the thing feel less all-consuming because you can at least like externalize it of like I'm angry or I'm very upset or I feel anxious as opposed to it being this like nebulous like cloud over your head. It's like, okay, it's this, and especially if like if you can like trace back like what is causing me to feel this way, like in your like that's something I do a lot. Like I feel like trash or I feel like an imposter. I suck. What's wrong? It's like, well, this project I didn't do too well on, or like this grade in this class got me feeling like I could be doing better. And it's like by giving yourself like space to like work it out or like I guess like get it out from in your head onto something external, I think that it helps to decatastrophize and like reduce that feeling of overwhelm a lot for me.
Exactly. Journaling is a great skill to have, and it's useful in so many different ways. Jumping into some real world skills, how will AI change our future, and how do we humans compete with this?
Whew, this is a big one.
Mhm.
I should preface this with I like yeah, overall I don't know in terms of like this technology is expanding and like evolving so rapidly that making any predictions would I feel kind of be like no, or trying to make any predictions and pretending that I'm certain about them would be foolish. And so like I could just I think this is just what I think might happen. And just like from a general trend perspective, what AI is going to do is take away repetitive knowledge work. So if you're doing something like writing BuzzFeed articles, your job's gone. Not your job, that sounded kind of bad, but like you're if you're doing low lift knowledge work, AI can just do it better and faster than a human can. And so those are probably that's probably like going to be the first sector to go. After that, the higher skill knowledge work jobs seem like they're getting targeted next, like the software dev. Like I thought that was going to stick around for longer than it seems like it's going to. Like a lot of my friends who are currently in like software engineering majors are kind of worried about what the landscape of the job market is looking like because of advances to AI like Claude and like Grok and like Jump, like all of the different ones actually. Um, and so yeah, in terms of like what can we do as people to compete with it, I think that the word compete as like I think it implies some of the wrong connotation or approach. I think the objective isn't to compete. Like you're not going to get replaced by AI. You're going to get replaced by somebody using AI. And so I think it's more so about like how do we collaborate with it as opposed to compete? Because if I'm being quite honest, if you're going to compete with AI in a who can copy better, it's going to beat you. So like, okay, how about you use the fact that it can like do the menial tasks of like scrolling or scrumming through like a bunch of data to drive it in the direction of a larger vision because and I think that's what it goes to like we you don't outcompete you win a different game and the game I believe this is my opinion again um is that we have to lean into the things that are human like lean into our exclusives like an AI can like do computation really well but it can't feel and it's like as much as it can tell you information like any advice that it gives, it can never be grounded in real experience. Like an AI can tell you like be nice to your neighbor or like be kind to somebody or something like that, but it will never hit and it will never be as impactful as a person telling you that story and you knowing that they lived it. And so in terms of what to do or like how to maneuver in the face of AI, I think yeah, I'm biased because it's what I'm doing, but I'm building a personal brand. So it's like the same information that I might be giving out of like, okay, this is how you do well at admissions, or this is how you can navigate the SAT. You can find that anywhere, but that's not what the personal brand is essentially a game of trust. And I think that's what's going to be most important, especially since AI can replicate so many things. It's like there's also going to be that level of distrust. There's already a level of distrust with the information we have already, like as of right now. And so I think trust is going to be one of the most valuable currencies of world post AI. And so yeah. Oh, and then also I guess if you're more of a technical person, then maybe like media or building a personal brand might not be up your alley. I would say the only short there, even then it's not a short bet, but you have to become like top 10% of your field if you want to continue to have a job post AI, I believe, because it is still going to need people pushing like research or the frontiers of whatever a given field are forward. And I think everything else, like you're not going to need like an intern to do, I guess, like literature review for you because Perplexity is going to do it. And you're not going to need it to write like simple scripts because Claude can do it. But you are going to need somebody to be like, this is a problem that's worth solving. Like the people working at like those abstract higher levels and like directing where the work being done is going. is what's going to remain, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I want to highlight something you said, compete into collaborate. And I think that's a beautiful perspective. And everything you said is true.
Thank you. Or
What
maybe.
soft skills do you wish high school students learned earlier?
Um, Public speaking. So, communication is pretty broad, but I would say in general, communication. Particularly if you're entering a STEM field, because I can't like tell you the amount of people I know or like interact with as a mechanical engineering student who are brilliant technically, but because of the fact that they can't communicate that brilliance or work effectively on a team, it holds them back from so many different opportunities that they would be exposed to otherwise. And s- yeah, it's like a high school, and it's like being able to communicate and I think story tell effectively, especially like if you're a high school student who's going to go into admissions, like that's just one example. Like you're going to have to like pitch or sell yourself and tell a story in admissions. You're going to have to do it when you're applying for jobs and or like internships in my case, or for scholarships, etc. You're going to have to do it if then it depends on like what you end up doing. But like I know that I'm personally going to need it in my field because like yeah, even if you're a technical person, you're going to need that ability to communicate your results and what you're working on to a larger team. And so I think communication, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I did mock trial for a couple years. I did debate, and I think it's helped me in so many different fields or job interviews, internships, everything. So it's a good point. When you're in a group project, what people skills make the biggest difference?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but again, communication, because I think like the biggest pet peeve of mine is when like you're in a group project, but it feels like somebody's like they might as well have not been there because they're nowhere to be found. And even if so for example, and I also think it's just like if you're in a group project and someone isn't pulling their weight, if they could at least communicate that they weren't going to do it, it would soften the blow a little bit because I can plan around it. But if it's just like there's nothing at all, it makes it very like irritating. My bad, I went on a rant. But the skills that would make group interactions or projects more helpful are definitely timely and thorough communication, as well as people skills. I don't know how else to describe it, but vibes, like like acting in good faith and generally wanting the betterment of the group over your own personal desires.
Definitely, yeah. We all want a group member who's engaged and wants to put in the work. How do you communicate with professors or mentors when you need help or you don't understand something?
I would say, and oh, I guess I answered this in two ways because I'm not sure if you meant like form or means of communication or style of communication. But in terms of means, it'll be like maybe an email, but my go-to, like I prefer to do it in person because then it's like, I don't know, I'm very much I like seeing people face to face and interacting in that way. And so sometimes it'll be office hours. I would heavily recommend those. And then from there, like when you're like the content of the communication itself is just honest and sincere and just like, hey, I really don't get what's going on here. I think I have an email in my like I sent it to my 2007 professor. That's the class where I was building a robot. And it was literally like a week before our most critical module was due. And I wrote to him, I'm like, hey, can we like talk after class or something? Because I'm like really down, not really down bad. I said something like, I seriously I'm seriously concerned and dubious of whether I'm going to be able to complete this project on time and overall about my standing in the class, which is like the first draft was like, bro, I'm crashing out. I don't know what to do, bro. I'm cooked. And then it's like, all right, make it sound a little bit professional, but it says the same thing. And yeah, just being completely honest, like this is where I'm at. I'm really struggling, and I was wondering if I could get help or like get support in this way. I think yeah, it's like one, if you just come to somebody with that, they'll be more than willing to help you. And then I think to help make their job a bit easier, if you can go at it with a list of like, these are the things I've tried, or these are the things that like I've been thinking about, and then they could probably like get a better gauge of where you are and where to direct you from there.
Definitely. And bouncing off of what you said, meeting in person, always the first step, and a follow-up email is
Yes,
always good, circling back on what we talked about.
for real.
Yeah. Um, so let's move on to advice for teenagers. What do you say to someone who's smart and capable but scared to try these big things?
Oh, they're kind of the same. I had thought about it like isn't scared of trying new things, but then for big things in particular, I'm respond with a quote that I really like, and it's like the magic you seek lies in the work you're avoiding. And another one that I like that goes in tandem with that is that the work works on you more than you work on it. And so that feeling of I'm scared to try it because I feel like this is bigger than me, or like I might be out of my depth, or I don't know what I'm doing is perfectly understandable because it's you've never done it before. And so it's like expecting yourself to be good at something you've never done before it just doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, you have to give yourself that grace, I believe. And like understanding it and going into it with the intention that like it's going to be scary, but the fact that it is scary means that you're going to grow from it. Like it wouldn't be like you have to be uncomfortable to get out of your comfort zone, like you can't have both that you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Definitely. And I'm sure someone listening to this definitely needed to hear that. What's one failure or hard moment that taught you something valuable?
There's a lot.
Big one.
Um, most recently, hmm, yeah, I think it was failing my first class at MIT. And that was I think it was at the end of my sophomore spring. And I think like the main thing that taught me was going back to that resilience piece. I remember like I had to sit down and just like sit with the like self discontent or like the a little bit of like self-beration of like, dang, why'd you mess that up? You suck. Like you came here, like you're 1,000 miles away from home to be at this specific school to be learning engineering and you're not learning it because what are we doing here? And having to go through that valley and then getting out the other side, I believe it forced me to somewhat reevaluate who it is I was, what it is I was trying to do, and like kind of like rebuild from scratch. And that was over the summer after freshman year of college. And I ended up reading two books. One was called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor, and the other was Positive Intelligence by Shazad Shamin. And something I hadn't realized I was doing during like throughout the duration of my adolescence and up until that point in college was I was operating with the mindset of, oh, it's okay to feel miserable or to not be happy right now in the pursuit of this like eventually once I achieve this external success, I'll let it go. Or like then I'll be able to let myself relax. And coming up against the, I guess, like really rough road bump of like, I don't think this is sustainable. If I continue to like, if anytime something goes left, I treat myself like this isn't going to work out long term. And having to, I guess, come to those realizations that no, you definitely can enjoy the process while you're on it. It's not just about the destination. I think that's like the main takeaway I got from that failure.
Yeah, it's about the journey.
Exactly.
If you could go back and give your 15-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh. Probably learn machine learning. Like go start early on the AI. That's me trolling. If I could give myself one piece of advice at 15, it would probably be to take more risks, calculated risks, but more risks. And understanding like that same, I guess, principle that like the failures can't hurt you as long as you learn from them. I would say, yeah. And so as a like therefore try a bunch of things, fail at them, and gain the experience from that.
It's a great point. I think there's, what is it, that quote where it's like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wrapping up, looking ahead, any final words for a teen watching this who might feel lost or unsure right now?
That's okay. Uh, yeah, like the feeling that you're going through is okay. It's not a final determination or say, and this too shall pass. This too shall pass, and you have a great deal of control over what comes next.
Exactly. Being a teenager is a period for growth. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Executive Teens Power Moves. It has been great meeting you. Yeah.
A pleasure, of course. Thank you so much for having me.